are those sounds that everybody remembers for all these years. The sound of the Big Brother theme. And as you know, over the course of 12 series and 20 plus civilian and celebrity versions, it has excited, entertained, created controversy. And what we plan to do is we are going to be discussing each one by one, to digest and get to the bottom of every series in greater detail. Welcome to Big Brother's Big Archive. Before we begin, however, I'd like to let everyone in the team introduce themselves a bit. First of all, I'll begin. My name is Karl Bainbridge. I'm a student of Media Studies at the University of Teesside, in which I've written numerous articles on the subject of reality television, and in particular Big Brother. Joseph?
I'm Joseph Tilley, and I'm a massive Big Brother fan, and I just love everything about it.
And Paul?
I'm Paul Barron. I'm an art student. I'm a level 3 art student from New College, Durham, and I'm just here for the crack.
Yeah, Paul is what we'd like to describe as a casual fan, but I think he'll be able to give us more of the words of the people, to see things from a more casual point of view that me and Joseph wouldn't do so, since we're saddos who dissect every little bit of information.
Because quite frankly, slightly you have no social life. But I know a little bit about psychoanalysts, so I'm good.
Yes, and we'll be using a lot of psychoanalysis when we be discussing Big Brother, because as we mentioned before, it is amazing to see how these people can collapse under pressure. Basically, what we just felt that not enough people talk about Big Brother in a past context. People often seem to move on and forget almost instantly about what had happened prior once the new series happened. And we essentially wanted to create a format which would allow us to appreciate particularly the early series of the show, which we'll be getting on to in later episodes. But we decided between ourselves, first and foremost, where we should start when discussing Big Brother.
And we will start with Rupert Murdoch, with Rupert what's his face's first ever big purchase, as later on in the years, before everything else, this was recently on Channel 4, but then.
Yes, I'll try and dissect that for people who can't speak Barron. Basically, the Richard Desmond series of Channel 5 is one of the things we'll be covering in the early episodes, because one of the things that we decided between ourselves to look at and focus on was that we decided, yes, Richard Desmond, was that we decided as a group, rather than working forward, starting from Big Brother 1 and working forward, we would instead work backwards and see how the show, see what the show is now, the show that we all know and, dare I say, love, and instead work back over to a more simplistic, more pure version of Big Brother, which aired on Channel 4, very early Channel 4 series. Since we're working backwards, therefore, we'll be discussing Celebrity Big Brother 10, which was the most recent series which aired on Channel 5, and aired straight after the Big Brother 13. Now, I want to talk to Joseph first and foremost. We'll be coming to Paul later. And I want to be discussing the concept of a second summer celebrity series. And both from the point of view of when it was first announced, back in April I think it was, and now looking back on it, do you think it was the right decision to make a second celebrity series?
To me, no, because it's starting to be like more of I'm a celebrity, get me the fuck out of here. Without kangaroo balls. If I see an eating challenge on that show, that's it. Everyone get to the lifeboats. It basically became I'm a celebrity, get me out of this house.
Do you think that it sort of took the shine away from the civilian version by doing a second celebrity series?
Yeah, because they don't have any people that are likable, and when they do have people who are likable, they have this fucking huge, shockingly bad, fat, blubber whale of a woman called Rebecca!
Yeah, we'll be coming to Becky when we discuss Big Brother 13.
Yes! I blame you for her! I blame all of you!
But we'll be going to Joseph. Now, Joseph, what was your opinion about the idea of a second celebrity series?
think it was quite good that because from point of view, I am more of a Celebrity fan after the overtaking by Channel 5. I've always enjoyed the Celebrity series because they live much more different lives than the civilians. So,
well, personally, I've always had the feeling though that for me that Celebrity Big Brother was always always the spin-off, always the lesser side of Big Brother, and the civilian version was the proper thing that everyone looked forward to, and I feel that's sort of changing with Channel 5, and with Richard Desmond owning the Daily Star and being more celebrity orientated. I get the feeling that the civilian version is getting shunned aside at the expense of the celebrity version.
Basically, turning it into the constantly. I can see the future of this of Britain. It's basically going to be run by Richard Desmond, and everything's going to be. All the celebrities are locked away in a prison or somewhere, and Desmond's basically holding the key.
But also as well, I felt the mistake was that Big Brother 13 was very hard going. I mean, it was an enjoyable series, but I just felt like I needed a break from it after it was over, and then to have to try and get the motivation to watch another celebrity series after that, it was hard going, and I think from that context, it was maybe not worth it.
yeah, maybe it was a bit too soon.
I mean, it was what 2 days? 2 days after Big Brother 13 finished?
Yeah.
Just a bit unnecessary. In saying that though, I did enjoy Celebrity Big Brother 10. And I think that we had, on the whole, quite a strong cast. We're going to be discussing in detail each of the cast members in later. But as a general analysis, Joe, what was your opinion on the cast for CBB10?
I think it was quite a good cast. Some I didn't know and got to know better, and some I did know and thought they were different to how they seemed.
Who were the standouts for you from the cast?
Julie Goodyear.
Yes, I have to agree with that one. We'll be discussing Julie a lot more in greater detail, especially in how the way she was portrayed, but I definitely agree with you, she was a definite standout. What about you, Paul?
Not particularly sure because, as Carl said, I'm more of the casual sort of fan, not the diehard, because I occasionally watched it if it was on the TV, but not all the time. And to tell you the truth, it was just basically the same thing. Big Brother, but with celebrities.
I sort of agree with you on the context. One of the things I noticed about this year's cast was that they sort of casted the type a lot in this series. It's sort of like they took on board what had made Celebrity Big Brother 9 such a success in January, and essentially tried to copy each role. So there was a member of So Solid Crew, they got another one. There was an ex-EastEnders actress, they got another one. There was a loose woman, they got another one. Very cast into type. I mean, good cast on the whole.
I want to see fucking Chuck Norris on the next one. If there's, mind you, most of the dough will probably disappear. Here comes Chuck Norris!
I really want to see Dog the Bounty Hunter, and it really was a shame that he couldn't come.
Definitely a shame to see Dog.
Because he's an actual bounty hunter,
Yes, he is.
I mean, all the stories on there were actually from him. But you don't drop a thing because of another thing.
Well, actually, you couldn't get a visa.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed about this cast in particular, and I sort of talked to a bit about Paul before we started recording, was am I the only one who felt a real discrepancy between how good the female housemates were in CBB10 and how poor the male housemates were? I felt that pretty much every...
What about Julian Clary? Where does he go into this?
We'll discuss Julian in more detail, but...
because, he's both male and... He acts like a male, so... He's a male, but he acts like a female.
I knew where that was going.
So...
But if you basically had to break down Celebrity Big Brother 10, you could break it down week by week, and each week had a female character come to the forefront and dominate the show. For week 1, it was Jasmine versus the models. Week 2, it was Danica's love triangle. And in week 3, it was Julie versus Colleen. And really, in all these storylines, the men were either non-entities or bit part players.
So you're just boiling down Big Brother into what could be called unscripted EastEnders.
Well, it is a soap in that aspect, but what I'm trying to get at though is that I don't think I've ever seen a series where there has been such a strong female domineering as opposed to a male one. I mean, Big Brother 8 possibly, but Big Brother 8 was pretty terrible. But CBB10 was one where if you didn't have the female housemates, you would have a terrible show.
And you'll probably have a lot of rapings, considering the fact that Julie and Claire is there. And now I've dropped the soap again, and all that.
You have to reduce things to crudity, didn't you? What about you?
That's what gets the listeners. That's what
loses the listeners. What about you, Joe? What do you think about the male versus female discrepancy? Did you notice it, or?
I definitely think the females were stronger than the males, character-wise, especially the Julie Colleen thing, which we'll get into.
Yes, but the place we're going to be starting is launch night, and we're going to be focusing on the traditional launch night twist. A total rip-off of the Natalie Cassidy twist from the January series of having Julie and Colleen have to spread lies about each other and eventually ending up in the two staging an argument between each other. And whilst I didn't like the fact that it was such a blatant rip-off of the January series, it was entertaining, and particularly Julie's part in it, very fun. Sort of set the tone for her as a character in the series.
And also, am I not mistaken that Heather from
Cheryl Ferguson was the other one, yes. And we'll come to Cheryl in more detail, but she was very underwhelming. But actually, I think it sort of sums up the two in that Cheryl had it had great opportunities to put herself on a pedestal, raise herself, didn't really take it, but yet Julie took it with all four, clutched it greatly and carried it through the series. One of the things that always, I think, sums that up is when they're having the argument. I honestly can't remember that much about what Heather said, but Julie just blurted out, "Don't talk shite."
please say he was wearing a feather boa when he had that. Don't talk shit, love.
A feather boa, lots of leopard print, lots of leopard print.
Oh my god, it's basically gay pride all over again. Don't talk shit, love. Now, if you excuse me, I must go.
And I love the reactions of everyone else in the in there, because there was sort of like that mix of, is this real, is this not? Some just, Martin Kemp, he obviously knew it was fake. He was loving it, you could just tell. But then you had people like Mike the Situation. It was just, we'll come to Mike the Situation because Paul has a lot to vent about that. But he was just like, what the hell is going on here?
No, right? This is ironic because Mike the Situation is American and has a visa to here, whereas Dog the Bounty Hunter hasn't got a visa from America to here.
Yes.
Right?
Well, Dr. Bounty Hunter, Mike the Situation didn't shoot someone, did he?
No, fair enough.
But yes, did you enjoy the launch night twist?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
The water went.
There was a lot of another thing about launch night. I didn't really touch upon this. I should have done this with the housemates summary. A lot of WTF sign-ins.
I'll just swear, man. It's the internet.
I still don't want to.
I'll do the swearing for you then. There was a lot of what the fuck moments.
not moments, like signings. You could sort of tell a lot of them were last minute. But, and I mean, some of them were duds. I mean, we don't remember that much about Ashley Mackenzie, do we? But then, but then some of those surprise castings did work out. I mean, Danica, as we'll mention, becomes a massive player in the show, and Prince Lorenzo. It was funny to read the reaction.
For God's sake, please say he's a pimp or something like that, because that does not sound
he's
like...
He's a member of the Italian royal family. But the
Italians have a royal family?
Supposedly, yes.
Holy crap.
But I love the reaction, because I was... When launch night was happening, I was reading between the two forums. I was reading between two forums. One of them was British-based, Digital Spy, and the other, Survivor Sucks, which I really recommend people read, is American-based. And it was funny to read the two reactions on Prince Lorenzo. DS was basically, who the hell is he? What's he doing here? And Sucks was basically like, they got the fucking Bachelor!
They got the fucking... Oh, America, I salute you. Not just for your animations and your food, but for the fact that you just bring out the best shit for anything, including the internet. I salute you, you bunch of people.
Yes, people. Yes, launch night was great, and I think the cast on the whole definitely had a lot of potential, even from an early point. We're going to be talking about week one now, in general. Now, as I mentioned before, week one was dominated for me by one overarching story, which was Jasmine versus the models. Now, I do like an outspoken, train wrecky character, and Jasmine definitely fitted that bill in that regard. But Jasmine was quite a hard one to judge, because she was sort of like Rebecca Vaughn from Big Brother 12 in that, yes, she was a train wreck, yes, she should have been great entertainment, but I just found it a bit annoying. Too annoying to really be like a Lydia Louisa. And also as well, I didn't like how she seemed to have such a vendetta against Jasmine and Danica for being models, for using their body to sell themselves, when the way that she basically made her career was through sleeping with Simon Cowell.
Mind you, that is the worst possible thing to get money from ever since clearing the bloody London sewer system.
What about sleeping with John McCurrick?
That's even worse. I would rather the London sewers works.
What about you, Joe? Jasmine in general. Jasmine versus the models.
I really didn't watch it right at the start, so I didn't really see much of her. I'm sorry to say that, but it's just like I just needed a break from Big Brother 13, so
yes.
I took a few extras from the start.
I sort of agree with you. I sort of agree with you in that sense, in that Big Brother 13 was such a hard slog. It did take time for people to really get into.
Because the fact, and also apparently they get the stupid audience because because most of them don't have a fucking memory. Most of them have a fucking memory of a fucking goldfish mixed in with a fucking hamster.
Paul, you do realise most of the people who are going to be listening to this are Big Brother fans. You're basically slagging off the people you're catering to.
Yeah, but hear me out. Because of the fact of the fucking name tags!
Alright then, Joe, that was about 19 minutes. 19 minutes. Did you have 19 minutes before Paul mentioned the name tags? I should just mention this, ladies and gentlemen. We did a podcast called the Reality TV Check beforehand, and Paul spent every episode talking about the on-screen graphics which they use for Big Brother. Although this year they were gold rather than white.
Don't fucking care if you change them to polka dotty blue! They're still fucking annoying as hell! Even if you make them 3 times the size of the screen!
We'll be discussing Richard Desmond, the name tags, and a lot of the technical stuff when we get to Celebrity Big Brother 8.
And by the by, 19 minutes, please explain.
Well, I can count.
You kept count. Do you and Joseph have some sort of bet? Why is Joseph holding a knife?
Never mind.
Did you and Joseph have some sort of bet?
Yes, we had a bet between ourselves that we would how long it would be before you mentioned the name tags.
You sons of bitches.
But the one thing I want to mention is I want to talk about Jasmine. Now I want your view on Jasmine Lennon.
Jasmine Lennon. The squeeze for
Carol squeeze.
Yeah, I think I know why she's on here.
And why is that?
Because obviously, Simon Cowell's squeeze. Apparently, Richard Desmond really needs controversy, and controversy to him is someone with scandal.
Yes, I agree with that. And I don't like that sort of casting. They sort of did that with a lot of celebrity series, and then in taking these sort of tabloid flavour of the month controversy magnets, which really don't belong on a proper celebrity series, and Jasmine was one of them.
I would really, really buckle if they actually put the skateboarding dog on the next one.
They probably will, or Fenton. They should do a dog's big brother, actually.
Fenton!
Like Fenton, Schmeichel from Coronation Street, the Andrex puppy.
Oh, the former Andrex puppy dead.
Never mind. Okay. Now let's series 1 highlights. We sort of get the first hints of the Lorenzo Danica situation love triangle, which we will discuss more in week 2, as Joe is gesturing to us in camera. We'll put that to you then whilst Joe sorts himself out. Danica, Sitch, and Lorenzo. What do you make of that?
Well, on one hand, it sounds like a porn threesome, but this is probably would cause a little bit more tension in the house. And to tell you the truth, you all want more tension in the house because it causes arguments.
Yes.
And apart from that, I would like to see what would happen if they actually said, "Oh, fuck it, let's have a threesome." Yes.
I'm surprised we haven't actually got to that, especially with how sex-orientated the Channel 5 Big Brother is.
Yes, Richard Desmond, you're a very dirty, dirty man.
One of the tasks I sort of enjoyed during week 1 of the show was the talent show, where they had to try and showcase their own talents, and Rian in particular was definitely the one which stood out for me, where she said, what was 20% of 100? 5.
But how long I am.
I'm surprised actually they didn't run with that, because usually if a housemate has that sort of like endearing stupidity, I'll put it that way.
Let's call it the potato moments.
No, we won't call it the potato moments. Yes?
It's like on Celebrity Juice, that's Joey Essex questions.
Yes.
If you've seen that, it's very funny.
Speaking of which, I saw an episode of that, and why is Tim Westwood on there? I thought his career died.
Exactly, his career died at the end of the Bond Celebrity Jukes.
I like how you did that.
But usually when I see something like that on Big Brother, I get the feeling they're going to get the nice but dim edit. I thought that Reem was going to get that sort of like lovable fool sort of edit, and she never did. Reem sort of faded into the background once the Harvey stuff, which we'll come into later, sort of died down. But as mentioned, Jasmine went out, ironically against Rian. Is this another example of the vote to save not fully working in a one-on-one eviction? Because between the two,
what was I going to say?
Go on, Joe.
Perfect.
I'll let you go first.
I was going to say, what was if you want to be here, a random fact. You know the task where they had Jasmine's mum in?
Yes, we'll be discussing that later, yeah.
Alright.
We'll be coming to that later. But yes, between the two, there's no argument. Jasmine was a far bigger character than Rian, but because it was a one-on-one eviction, where basically a vote to save becomes nullified and it essentially becomes a a vote to evict. Jasmine was always going to go that week. So do you think that maybe this is another example of how vote to save is still flawed, and that for it to really work, it needs to be a multi-person vote to save?
I think it should just always be vote to evict.
We'll discuss the pros and cons of vote to evict later, but I've always been a fan of vote to save personally. I think that it rewards bigger characters and keeps the personalities in the house for longer. I think that if we vote to save, vote to evict encourages negativity, and I think that's one of the large reasons why there's such a negative association with Big Brother.
Like the faceless mob sort of mentality.
Yes, I mean, like how many times do we hear the Big Brother audience, and we'll actually come to that like a famous moment later on, chant for someone to get someone out rather than keep someone in? Why can't they chant positively rather than chanting for the negatives?
It's more fun, especially when it's like, if you remember Get Grace Out, chanting that all night.
Get Grace Out was fantastic, but it's been nullified because it's been happening too many times. I just think that by chanting positively, it reflects on the show. In Big Brother Australia, the crowd are told to cheer regardless of who leaves the house. Same in Big Brother America, and it's a nicer show for it.
I would like to hear someone the crowd start to chant cake.
just something random.
What do you want? Bugs. What do you don't want? Drugs.
But yes, so week 8, Jasmine leaves the house, and almost immediately afterwards, nominations take place for the second time, with Julian receiving 5 nominations, Cheryl, Colleen, The Prince and Sitch all tied with 3, all 5 facing the public vote. Now this eviction was definite. We'll come to this eviction later, but it was definitely, in my eyes, one of the examples of how vote to stay benefits. But before that though, we're going to be talking about what you were touching on, which was the controversial Jasmine's mum twist.
She's got it going on.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I just want to say a random fact there that Jasmine's mum was in James Bond.
The Spy Who Loved Me, she was the one who got eaten by the shark.
Sorry. Of all the things, right? Oh my god. I'm guessing she was a henchman.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Stromberg drops the fall in the ground
and she gets eaten by a shark.
Yeah.
Please be a shark with lasers on their heads.
No sharks with lasers.
Ah, balls.
But yeah, it was a controversial twist, and I take it as evidence that it wasn't really as strong as what the Nikki Graham situation was, but I think it was an example of production not being happy with the public's decision, and to an extent sticking 2 fingers up at the public and saying you made the wrong call by putting Jasmine in for a twist like this.
I would really buckle if if there was one guy in production just constantly texting the number. Quickly, Dave, you need to keep on going. I can't text as fast as I can.
I'm actually not surprised that production actually gets a couple of people from inside to actually text and phone to try and distort the votes. Maybe they do. We don't know.
We're looking at you, production.
Yes.
If you want to send your hitmen, so be it. You strike me down, I come back stronger.
Yes. But we'll come to the second eviction, which is the Julian, Colleen, Sitch, Lorenzo, Cheryl eviction, where
the Sitch really, I'm really. Oh, this is one of the Jersey Shore douchebags we're talking about, and I'm proud to say that. Thank you, because quite frankly, if they do burn down the house, I'll be sitting outside the doorstep roasting fucking marshmallows on it.
Have you been taking anger pills or something? You're very pent up today.
It's just anything with Jersey Shore in it. I fucking hate with a passion.
Done?
I really do.
Are you done now?
Yes, I'm.
Yes. Now, Cheryl's eviction. We'll need to discuss that. And it was a 5-way vote, and it was in my eyes a very enjoyable eviction. In many ways, you can actually compare Cheryl's eviction and Cheryl in general in the house to what happened with Natalie Cassidy in CBB10. In being the recipient of the opening night twist, ex-EastEnders actor, expected to do very well,
But
and then
that's
leaves
cool.
very early.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. They're going to repeat it over and over and over again.
Yes, I'm expecting Sid Owen in next time, or what's her name, Patsy Palmer, she'll be in next time.
Or Dirty Den.
Leslie Grantham, good call actually. But Cheryl was very underwhelming in my eyes. I expected her to be a big character and she wasn't. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I think she could have been better, and she was a bit boring.
What do you think was Cheryl's drawback? Why do you think she didn't succeed as much as other people?
Well, for one,
I don't know. She's just like,
well,
go on, Paul.
to tell you the truth, alongside the fact that she was generally a nice person, right? She wouldn't cause arguments, unintentionally, of course.
But I think maybe that's what didn't do her. While Cheryl stayed nice and under the radar, we had Julian and his quips all the time. Sitch was part of the storyline with Danica. Colleen had a big loose women vote, and Lorenzo had built up his own fan base by being part of the Danica story as well. And Cheryl didn't have anything in contrast.
So basically, it was just like an episode of EastEnders then, except for when she died in the gas fire.
I wouldn't say that. No,
Mm.
I have to disagree with you there.
Oh.
Not a pretty egg she is.
But
Sorry about that. We really do like her.
are we okay now? You have to realise, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening for this for the first time, this is pretty much what we're like every time when we did reality TV check. Just incoherent ramblings. But so yeah.
I haven't said yet.
What haven't you said yet?
What did you say?
Secrets.
There's Paul sticking the finger for anyone who can't see this.
I hate that baboon ass.
We'll talk about Pete Burns when we get to Celebrity Big Brother 4, Paul.
He's probably a charming guy, but really, come on.
We'll discuss him in more detail. What I want to discuss is round 3 of nominations, which was Rhian, Danica, The Sitch, and Samantha. Now this is really when the Danica love triangle really begins to build up steam. Now I wanted to talk about this in detail, which is that whilst I in no way condone Danica for being, for all extents and purposes, a prick tease, I didn't like the double standards.
That's a new one.
I didn't like the double standards that both the audience at home and the housemates seemed to have that, in that they painted Danica as the only one who was the one, and there was this evil woman doing this to all these sweet innocent men. Yet when it was the men themselves who allowed themselves to fall for her, and I just found it quite uncomfortable that she seemed to be so discriminated for, and in what was arguably a biased argument. I'll put that to you, Joe. Do you think Danica got a bit of a hard time over this showmance?
I don't know. If she wants to go around flirt with everyone, then she should get what she deserves. And
I think
that she was.
I think she was entitled to, but also as well, I found particularly the treatment by Harvey to be particularly bad, because Harvey was saying to Lorenzo, Sitch, Danica, oh, it's immoral what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing this. He was the one who cheated on his pregnant girlfriend. He has no right to criticise people on the morals.
What a dick!
Very, and I'll actually talk about Harvey later on. I really didn't like Harvey.
Fair enough. I mean, to tell you the truth, people should realise that you're voting for dicks and evil people. Sure, they're not super villains, you know, people that are made to be hated. But these are people that should not be praised for this sort of thing.
And well, Harvey in particular, definitely. But I just felt that the Danica Sitch Lorenzo thing was a two-way street, and not just Danica as the evil temptress.
Mm.
But I think a lot of people, and particularly on Digital Spy, felt the same way about that. And it was one of the reasons Danica was definitely a recipient of a lot of support on DS at that point. And of course, Sitch and Danica ended up surviving that week. Now, here's something that I really want to talk to you about. There were a couple of changes I felt this year in regards to how the eviction program was done.
Apart from the fact that the name tags were fucking gold, whoop-de-friggin'-do. How about this for a brilliant idea? Take the fucking things away!
I agree with that, Paul. Well,
thank you!
Well, we'll discuss, as I said though, we'll discuss production in more detail for CBB8. If Paul can make it that long, because I think he's gonna explode if he has to hold it in.
I'm either gonna explode or go unconscious because of the lack of oxygen, but really...
Now, both of these changes I felt were really rather unpopular. Both on forums, and I didn't like them either. The first one was the 20-second "Please Save Me" play during the middle of the show, which I felt sort of they disrupted the momentum of the eviction, and I didn't really like them. I thought it was a novel twist, but something which didn't work.
What about?
And I think got assigned to the guest questioner during the Davina interviews during Big Brother 10. Joe, what did you think of that? The 20-second "Please vote for me, please save me" play.
I really don't like them, to be honest with you, because it's like you're begging for your life. I just think it's just like it's not what Big Brother's about. It's about having, you know, the public having, you know, the vote and just get rid of who you don't like or who you do like.
Yeah, I can see that.
It does sound a little bit like, you know, like a thing that Mr. Burns would probably do on, you know, The Simpsons. Right, you gotta say in 20 seconds, tell me why we need to save you without saying the letter E. Well, you're fired. Really? Well, I didn't say E!
Yes, everyone loves The Simpsons. But
and the other one series, because, you know,
and the other one
losing it a bit.
And the other one is particularly relevant in regards to particularly when we discuss Caroline's eviction and Big Brother 13. But we saw it to an extent this series, which is the idea of freezing the phone lines after each person with the most votes is saved, and then opening them up again, which I feel disrupts the flow of the evictions. And also, I think because one-on-one evictions become essentially votes to evict, it distorts what the actual result would have been.
This is why, you know, again, ruining a very good ruining a very good show if you can't get the flow right.
Yes.
Thank you again, Richard. You're really, really great.
Yes.
And I say that like lumps of sarcastic marmite spewing out of my mouth.
That's fantastic, Paul. I have to give you that one.
I thank you, Lord Nazi, protect us all.
And it was essentially this sort of format that made us lose Rian in week 3, when really we should have lost Samantha. Samantha was very under the radar, rather unpopular, unlikable, and yet because Rian had the model label and was seen as evil by the big bad boys who, oh, look at us, we're being tempted by these evil succubuses.
No. You said it wrong. You don't say tempted by the evil succubuses. It's evil succubuses.
Alright, then the evil succubuses. And Rian unfortunately left. Unfortunately, Rian wasn't, I think, that big of a loss to the house. I think there were bigger characters which were saved, but really she should have stayed over Samantha. In the same way that Jasmine should have stayed over her.
As Julian Curley just stands there trying to say, I am gay.
What's your problem with Julian Curley?
I don't have a problem with Julian Curley. It's just the fact that you're saying that, you know, they're all being tempted, like, you know, the Argonauts and Jason on the friggin' ship.
And Julian's like, try whatever you want, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. It's just, he's just standing there, just tying his shipmates onto the fucking mast while all of them are trying to jump over the wall. Trying to jump overboard.
I did
taking the sitch first. Pussy!
Now, after Rean's eviction, there was, or possibly before, it's hard to remember much with Celebrity Big Brother 10, but there was the God task, which I think was probably the best task that they had during that series.
There's a God task?
We'll explain in more detail. And really, the God task was one of the first times it really became clear, as Joe does Gangnam Style, and Paul does as well.
Oh yeah, I've seen Gangnam Style.
Yes, it's mad out here. But the God task, and it was really the first time that really we began to see this team Harvey, Ashley, Mike, really come to the forefront as villainous characters. And what was your opinion on the whole Team Ham thing?
Hello?
Hello, yes, Joe? Yes, Team Ham. I want to discuss Team Ham. Harvey, Ashley, Mike.
I think it was just silly, really. It was like, it was a good group, and
Sorry.
yeah, that's not stupid.
I think we're into a giggling fit here.
I'm just imagining them just being like some sort of rip off of Power Rangers. Team Ham, go!
Well, they were mature enough to do something like that, I have to be honest.
Oh my god, they did.
Yeah, and so, like, I'm not a big lover of Team Ham, but to try and give them the defense, was this something really evil, or was this just three boys being young men?
Yeah, it was. I think it was like just them messing about, trying to outdo each other, and like.
I agree there.
Why do I have a feeling that they're just abandoning, you know, the fact of Big Brother is just, I just have an image of Dirty Sanchez but with more cameras. I'm just seeing that. Oh, we just need. Ooh, speaking of which, an idea for a new housemate for the next series: Pancho or any of the Dirty Sanchez boys.
I want Meatloaf.
Unfortunately, they're all in Ibiza.
Oh, Meatloaf as well?
No,
Really?
not Meatloaf.
Really?
No, but the Sanchez boys.
First off, the Sanchez boys have some. The Sanchez boys are still on, and second, Pritchard survived the stabbing. I heard somewhere that some jackass groups suffer a little bit too much of what I like to call the Three Stooges syndrome, where they get sometimes a very, very harsh sort of thing happen to them for some weird and unknown reason. Don't laugh, it was in the middle of Tesco's.
No, it's not that, it's just Karl in his eyes.
Yes. It's just I'd much rather discuss
Anyway.
Big Brother on a Big Brother podcast than Dirty Sanchez.
Sanchez Ferreira, date and you prick!
The topic.
Yes, we'll
Stay
move
on
on
topic,
now.
stay on topic.
Now there was a double eviction the week afterwards, where unfortunately we ended up losing Samantha and Danica. Now we'll start with Samantha, who I think very underwhelmed as a housemate.
Team Ham wins again.
Yes, Team Han wins again. Basically, it was Team Han who basically orchestrated this eviction.
It's just, oh my god, it's just, I'm just imagining Power Rangers. Really, when you say Team Ham, it just reminds me of Power Rangers.
Now, Joe, what was your view on Samantha?
Not really much of one.
I don't think anybody does. That she was one of those people cast basically to be. She was a tabloid flavour of the month, expected to be controversial, and quite similar to Carol Malone, the other journalist who went in on CBB10, in being so underwhelming and so under the radar, and basically lost it. Danica as well went this week, and once again, arguably another example of the one-on-one vote to evict hindering her, because it was between her and Martin Kemp as to who would go, and Unfortunately, even I knew Danica couldn't beat Martin in an eviction.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be discussing Martin Kemp actually a little bit later when we get to the finale. But also, this eviction was the point where, really, the culmination of something else I want to talk about, which was Julie. Julie had really begun between the eviction of Rian and Danica and Samantha. Really began to develop a lot as a villainous character. And this, of course, was the week where the crowd started to chant, "Get Julie out." And what was your... really started to turn Julie into a villain. What was your view on Julie's portrayal within the show, Joseph?
Well, really, I know she was like just acting up as Panto villain, but the cameras really don't lie, do they? It's like she made herself out to be the bad guy, so that's how I saw it.
How much of a bad guy are we talking? Are we talking the kind that drowns puppies just for giggles, or?
No, I wouldn't say that one. No puppy drowning. Don't worry.
Oh, fair
but it was just stirring up things. It was just saying that he said, she said, and then fade into the background whilst the rest of them argued. So it's
like some sort of evil mastermind, just sitting there with the.
I wouldn't say evil mastermind. It's like something they do on Big Brother America all the time. I felt Judy sort of got a hard time somewhat, but it was fascinating to watch as well because, especially in terms of Celebrity Big Brother, I'd never seen a housemate who had come into the house so universally adored, and then people done a completely 180 on them whilst they were there. You could argue Jake Goody, but there were still people outside who hated Jake Goody before CBB5. Julie was pretty much a national treasure, and pretty much ended this by going on the show. Joe, you had your hand up?
Sort of like the Tories when they go into when they went into power.
Well, no one liked the Tories. You had your hand up on there, Joe?
Yeah, I do know one character who that kind of did happen to, and Paul, you're going to hate me for this, but Pete Burns, he came in, he went in, everyone liked him.
No,
he turned.
I don't.
Jodie.
I think we got a lot of what we expected from Pete when he went in. I think a lot of people expected Julie to be this lovely, wholesome mother figure, and yet she was Miss Havisham, basically.
Yeah.
If I had to think of one comparison actually to someone who she was similar to, if anybody ever watched The Celebrity Apprentice with Dionne Warwick in, it was quite a similar sort of story.
Yeah.
You remember watching that series, Joe? But yeah, as I was saying, the Danica and Samantha eviction was really when Julie herself began to realise that how much the crowd had turned on her, and how bad things had got. And also as well, this was really the point when the emergence of Colleen as a character really began to go to the forefront. Actually, I should apologise just for a moment there. I actually got my mistake mixed up. It was Colleen who Danica and Samantha were up against, not Martin Kemp. Martin Kemp is in the next week, so I just have to correct that for people.
We do not want to douchey McNickpick here.
Yes. We expect people to comment saying, "Oh, you got that wrong." But as I said,
you didn't get that right, Judas.
Sorry.
As I mentioned, Julie's villainy really was at the benefit of Colleen. Colleen was rather under the radar before then, and really came to the forefront as being the victim of Julie. What did you think of Colleen? Joe?
Who, me?
Yes.
Sorry, I can't see. Right, excuse me. Colleen, it's a bit difficult really to say anything about Colleen because like she was there, but she wasn't like all there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She was certainly a lot more. She was certainly a lot more sane than what Jalees was.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll have to discuss Denise in greater detail when we get to CBB9.
And also the fact that I'm sort of guessing on here. She makes Gary Busey look sane.
Nobody can make Gary Busey look sane. But what about you, Paul? What's your view on Colleen?
Colleen. I'm not quite sure. Again, didn't actually see much of it, but I'm guessing psycho bitch.
I wouldn't say psycho bitch. I would, if I was to use Edgic on this, I would describe Colleen as an MORM.
What?
Middle of the road, mixed. So, it's not good, not bad.
Mad out of her mind.
As in
Oh yeah. Alright, fair enough.
Mad out, mind.
So I gone Judge Dredd on there. Out of her mind.
Now, what Danica's eviction did was, for all intents and purposes, lose Prince Lorenzo's story. And when he faced eviction alongside Julie and alongside Martin, which I got right there, it was pretty inevitable he was going to be gone. Now, what was your view on the Prince? Because he was the surprise casting of the season, but in a pleasant way. I liked the Prince.
What? Right? Isn't this the same guy who did The Bachelor, or is this an actual Prince?
Both.
Oh dear God. Oh,
And I'll show you his Wikipedia profile afterwards, Paul.
Right. I'm guessing he was a bit of a flirt, but a tiny guy because.
I think so.
Oh dear God.
Like well-spoken, American, middle-aged, good-looking. He was a DS favourite. He was
Whoa. American? Really?
Well, he was Italian, but he spoke an American accent. He's like, "Hello, my name is Lorenzo."
Fair enough.
Yes. So you could just tell he was going to be someone who DS loved, just simply from the way that he looked and acted.
I apologise to Italy for this, but did he have a mustache?
No.
Damn.
Now, what about you, Joe? What's your view on the Prince?
I think he was a really good character. I really did enjoy just him being there. He was a really good character.
I liked him. I mean, he's not a Big Brother legend by any means, but I mean, he was a nice guy. Didn't really offend anyone, and had some funny moments. If you remember when they did the Big Brother television channel, and him and I believe it was Ashley had to do a kids TV segment, which was very good entertainment.
Oh my God! Please say they sang the "Don't Be Cruel to Animals" song.
No,
you could never punch a badger in the eye.
And I'm struggling to remember what it was called, but it was very entertaining. And if people read this on YouTube, please tell us what it was. It would be great help. But also as well, we saw Colleen and Julian hosting their own This Morning sort of public service sort of show, which was also very entertaining.
This is going. That would probably be terrifying if that was on there. If she was on there. Oh look, a care story that nobody cares. Oh well, got it.
Well,
Let your.
obviously not as good as. Well,
We're still here, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It wasn't as good as the Japanese TV show.
Oh, the Japanese TV show.
Oh, they're fucking nuts.
From Big Brother 9, that was fantastic. I have to give you that one. Absolutely brilliant.
Right, if I'm getting this correct, they're probably going to have either something to do with big drops, stupidly has a thing, or bums and heads and bums.
Snakes and people dressed as sushi, Paul.
Oh dear God.
Yes, this is Channel 5, very cheap.
Oh yeah, this is going to be hilarious. Look out, health and safety. Fuck that shit. All off.
Arguably, that was another example of the cheapness of. I wouldn't say half-heartedness, but the colour by numbers attitude of CBB10, and that they realised that the Japanese TV task was good, so they did another TV task.
Oh yeah, because we want more Japanese TV that's really fucking insane.
Oh.
No offense, Japan. I love your anime, but really, you're nuts! You're all of you!
In a nice way. Want to stress in a nice way. We don't want to get bombed by Japan, please.
But mind you, I've got to admit, when you do animations, you do them good.
Yes.
I've seen some of the stuff you've done. My God.
Enough sucking up to Japan though. We need to talk Julie.
Aye.
We need to talk.
Yes, let's talk about the man who thinks is a woman but really is a man.
No, that's Julian. We're talking about Julie Goodyear here.
All right.
And basically her impact on the series.
How old is she?
I believe she's 71 now.
Oh my God, did she have a daughter of it or anything?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, unfortunately, Paul.
Right, because I think she might be Rachel Goodyear's mother.
Possibly, yes.
Because if you ever on Google that. But continue on.
Yes, definitely. Of these three standout characters who helped dictate the series, Danica, Jasmine, Julie. Julie for me was by far the biggest character, and I think I would argue put her in the mantle of great big CBB housemates. Would you go as far to list Julie as that good, Joe?
Not backward, just motherly.
I never said backwards. I'm just saying that to you. I think she was. I would have her as one of the best ever in celebrity.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's probably out of all the best celebrity housemates, most of them being female, like Julie,
Yes.
Denise Welch,
Carissa and Christina.
Good. Yeah, Jade.
I wouldn't put Jade as a great housemaid. I mean, she basically killed the franchise, didn't she?
So
Well,
screwed the pooch.
Well, we'll discuss CBB5 when we come to it. That's definitely going to be a dodgy one to cover, isn't it? But that raises a question though, which is if Julie was such a good character, why did she end up losing to Martin Kemp in an eviction when Martin Kemp didn't do it? Was very poor.
Because Martin's just like Martin's the legend, isn't he really? So.
But I'd like to judge a housemate based on the contribution to the show, and I don't think Martin Kemp did that. I don't think Martin Kemp was a great housemate based on what he did in the series. People only liked him because he was Martin Kemp.
Like people like Chuck Norris. When they get Chuck Norris, because
Yes.
he's so fucking awesome.
I don't think you can compare Martin Kemp to Chuck Norris though. But actually, Martin Kemp in the Missing in Action films, or Martin Kemp in the Delta Force, someone needs to do a mock-up of them.
Delta Force.
Get on to Photoshop.
Yes, ready to Photoshop. Well, I don't know. Paul will give you some money if you do one for us.
What? Oh, you mean what?
Never
What do you
mind.
agree on?
Carl.
Yeah, never mind. We'll come back. Now, so we come to the final. 6 people. Ashley, Harvey, Sitch, Colleen, Martin, Julian. One thing I want to talk about before we talk about the finale and talk about the placings of everybody is that we had 2 people here in Ashley and Harvey who never faced the public vote and never got threatened with eviction. Do you think that we should have had at least one opportunity for them to face the public vote? Especially considering how poor they were as housemates. Both as villainous housemates, both as contributors to the series. Do you think we should have had at least one chance to judge how good they were from a public perspective?
Yeah. I wouldn't have had 6 finalists.
I think
double eviction.
I think 5 is as much as I think you should have in a final. I think.
I would.
Yeah.
3 was the minimum, wasn't it?
Final 4.
Yeah, 3 was the smallest amount they ever had, and that was in the first few series. And I think the biggest they've ever had was 7.
Wow, short fucking series.
Yes, and a bad series when we come to it. CBB10, we'll talk about that. Now, cause as well, Ashley and Harvey finish in 5th and 6th place respectively. And even though Channel 5 didn't release the votes for this series, you do for the celebrity versions, I would hazard to think that they were very low. I'm talking 2 or 3% of the vote. So
Yeah.
I think really there should have been an opportunity to judge the popularity.
Yeah.
Yes. But they only got 1 and 2 votes from the housemates, which showed that they had popularity inside the house, even if they didn't outside. So they must be doing something right.
Yeah. Just like,
Are you okay, Joe?
yes, you're very loud there. I don't know what that.
Sorry. It's the volume. It's dodgy on this. We'll try and
Yeah.
fix it.
Right,
saying.
continue.
Please continue. Yeah.
I can't remember what I'm saying now. Sorry.
Then let's move on. Let's talk about Martin and Sitch, 3rd and 4th place. Was I the only one who was a bit surprised that Sitch didn't beat Martin in the vote? I think he was a bigger character, and I was expecting some sort of tween vote, possibly, and
I'm guessing all the idiots who like friggin' Jersey Shore.
Paul, once again, you have slagging up people, you upsetting people.
I've got a good reason to, because quite frankly, this is why we're seeing
But the point is though, Paul, Jersey Shore is very popular, even if you don't personally agree with it. And I was expecting all those Jersey Shore fans, and all those fans of that sort of scripted reality television to back behind Sitch. Particularly, he was like an alpha male, he was popular on Twitter. I was expecting him to be a bit more of a challenger in the finale than what he was. I think
Yeah, I thought from what I saw of the last Celebrity Big Brother, that the Americans also, phoned and voted. So I thought they would have had a lot more votes than Martin.
Do you think there is a bit of an anti-American resentment with the British public? Because I don't think we've ever had an American win a British reality show.
Yeah.
You got a point there. I mean, they had friggin'
But Michael Madsen was on the Celebrity series.
He did the most iconic movie in the whole of the history, Reservoir Dogs.
Yes, we'll have to discuss Michael Madsen when we get to CBB10. And then we've got Martin. Now, I've got a bit of a bold statement to make. I want to see if you agree with it. Was Martin the most underwhelming Celebrity Big Brother housemate ever? In terms of the big reputation he had and what he delivered in the house?
I don't know.
That's
That's a different question.
It's a hard question to ask. I personally, I think so. I just felt there were so many expectations of what Martin Kemp was, and he didn't deliver on them. What about you, Paul?
It's sort of the scenario. He's not the Messiah. He's just a very naughty boy, isn't it?
Explain.
Martin Kemp. Usually, he's sort of. I apologise for asking, but who's Martin Kemp?
Martin Kemp was in Spandau Ballet and he was in EastEnders.
Yeah, it was an I am right. He is. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy scenario. Someone who's praised to do great things, but doesn't deliver out of it.
I thought it was very underwhelming, and I wouldn't say cast and dud because it was a big name. Getting Martin Kemp got a lot of publicity, but I think he could have done a lot more, and I think he's very lucky to get 3rd place by doing so little. But not as lucky though, arguably, as Julian. Now this is where we discuss Julian as our winner, and now
As he just hides in the cupboard somewhere and then just jumps out like some sort of surprise monster.
hides in the cupboard. I get that. But in all seriousness, Joe. I will put this to Joe. Was Julian possibly one of the most under the radar, middle of the road winners that we've had? It's very hard to say that he was part of any real storyline within the series.
Yeah, I do agree with that. He was in the middle for quite a lot of the series. He, from what I saw, he just seemed to sit around and say bitchy remarks and snide comments, and then he just won it.
Yeah.
So, do agree being middle of the road.
Taking that sort of middle ground between the sort of squabbles between like Colleen and Julie and the love triangle, he sort of got the role of sort of like a house narrator, and I think that's maybe a good position to have. I think it helps you get far in a show like this.
Yeah, that's why I said, was hiding in the cupboard and then suddenly just jumped out for a
I thought
surprise.
that was a gay reference
No,
coming out the closet.
that wasn't a gay reference. That's what I was talking about.
Yes.
And also the fact that, well, you can just imagine him doing something like the Twilight Zone or something. Meet Mark, 37 years old, but little did he know that when he opens the cupboard, there's no biscuits.
Random. Okay.
Anyway.
Now.
But yeah, it does seem like that.
Yeah. Well, now, one of the questions I possibly asked then is that if Julian was so under the radar, so lack of prominence within the show, arguably should Colleen have been the winner between the two?
No.
And would you like to explain more about that?
Julian was middle of the road, but he was nice. He didn't get in arguments. Though I do disagree with him taking Julie's side for most of it. I know they're like the old lovey-dovey couple, but he should have just kept himself out of it really and not taken sides in regards to Julie.
But I'd sort of thought though that we'd sort of gotten away with this sort of trend of middle of the road positive winners with the Channel 5 era. Because we had Aaron win when there were a lot of people who didn't really like him. We had Denise win, who was an over the top character. And I felt really Colleen between the two would have been someone to carry on that rather than what Julian did. I just felt that Julian's win just sort of sent out this idea of by being nice and inoffensive you can succeed. And I felt like I want something more than that based on an entertainment point of view. He was more likeable than Colleen, I give you that, but less interesting as a character.
He seemed like that in the 90s when he hosted shows and had a cameo on it.
Yes.
Because, he did have his jokes, but he seemed more, nicer about it.
I do like Julian. I think he was a nice guy, nice character, okay winner. Maybe not one of the most exciting ones, but a pleasant enough person. It's better to have that than to have someone like Anthony Hutton. Yeah, I'm not a big lover of Anthony Hutton. We'll discuss that in CBB6. But on the whole, lads, what was everyone's view on CBB10? What did you like about it? What did you dislike about it? What needs to be improved when it comes to CBB11? We'll go to Joe first.
Well, I think personally it was one of the best series I've seen out of the celebrity series. What can be improved? Not get rid of the name tags.
Thank Christ.
I knew that would please you.
You better be listening to this, Richard. Continue on.
I don't think it's much improvement apart from get better known celebrities that I know about.
I thought it was a strong series. Maybe not as strong as what CBB9 was, but it shows the Channel 5 are getting onto a recipe of what makes a good Big Brother series and following through on that. Because I think these last three of CBB9, BB13 and CBB10 have been good strong series. Certainly better than what Channel 5 were producing in the first year, 2011. In terms of improvements, I think that I would like to see Celebrity Big Brother to remain as a January series. I don't like this trend that's coming on of trying to make it the main focus and shift away from the civilian version. But personally, I think they're really hitting a good spot at the moment, and I'd like to see them continue that. What about you, Paul?
Well, I used to find a lot of it used to have a lot of attention back in the day, but now with the announcement of another celebrity Big Brother after this one, it just seems a bit, It's going to be celebrity orientated.
And that's one of the worries I have, is that are Channel 5 doing too much? And are they milking this for all it's worth, and are people going to backlash against it?
Well, I'm hoping that it's got a good recipe for the Big Brother we all know and love. Yes, take away the fucking name tags, and we've got ourselves a winner. And we had a good series. Like the sort of way Britain's coming back to it, really.
I think so as well. I think that's a good point. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that is as much as we can talk about for Celebrity Big Brother 10. We've got a lot of these shows to go, and tell you what, it's going to be a hell of an enjoyable ride. Having a look through all of them. Tongue-tied words there. But the next thing we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is hide your epalators. We're going to be talking about Big Brother 13, which I hope everybody's going to be enjoying. Looking forward to recording.
Yep, and to tell you the truth, I've got my harpoon ready to take me down a whale.
Yes.
Yes.
You want to take down Becky, don't you?
Yes. Come at ye, bitch! I come at you with my bloody harpoon!
Yes, but until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Karl Bainbridge. That's been Joseph Tilley.
And I have been Barron.
Yeah, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you again when we discuss Big Brother 13. Bye-bye for now.
Toodles!
Bye.